This program is a collaboration of personal opinions and individual free thought. It does not represent the views or narrative of the mainstream corporate media hacks. Viewer discretion is advised.
And here we go.
Live from the bell tower, taking a stand for your rights, your liberties, and all the bullshit in between. You're listening to Break the Bell Podcast.
Yeah, everybody, it is that time of the week again. Time for the Break the Bell Podcast.
Hello, beautiful bell breakers. It is good to be here. It feels like all is well in the world.
Is that what it feels like? Does
Well,
all
here.
feel well
Just
in
here.
the world? just in this studio.
Yeah, just in
of
the studio
world.
right here.
This part
Out there, it sucks.
This part of the world
Yeah.
feels great. Once we leave those doors
Yes.
and the confines of this area,
Yes.
then not so much.
No,
but
it's on.
For now, it feels great.
Yes.
So, how's everybody doing? We are back live as always. Most Monday nights.
Some Tuesdays.
Some Tuesdays if guests can't schedule Mondays, or
Yes.
if we can't, we just don't feel like it, then
Right, yeah.
we'll bump it. But we're always here
We
in
always
some
feel
form
like
or
it,
fashion.
yeah.
So most of the time we're here every Monday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're listening in podcast land in the future, come join the fun. We're live back on YouTube
Yes.
for the time being until they kick us off.
This one might do it.
Yeah, well, we say this about every. I feel like it's our duty to push
Yeah.
the limits now that we're back on. It's like, let's see how fast we can get kicked back off. So we are on YouTube. We stream live on Facebook as well, on our Facebook page at Break the Bell Pod, and we stream live on Twitter. So you choose your poison, pick your poison, whatever.
Which is what it is.
Yeah, it literally is poison. Join us live if you don't do so already, because we enjoy the participation in the comment section. The comments are always open while we're live streaming.
Yes.
They're always open, period. So if you have something to say, let us know. If we are way off base, we probably are sometimes. We make it a point to claim that we do not claim to be experts in
Yes,
any of the
We try
the
to
things
make
we
our
talk
base
about.
as big as possible so we can't be too far off.
Yes, exactly. So we don't claim to be experts, and we don't claim to be professionals at what
That's
we
right.
do. So you'll hear our screw ups in the live format, which I've gotten past even editing out most of our screw ups, because that maintains it keeps that whole atmosphere of us not we don't want to appear to be like
Too perfect.
superhuman or
Yeah.
too perfect for you
That's
people.
a problem in most of our parts of our lives. So
We
here we want to try to tone it down.
The one thing that we are consistent at, besides not being good, is this freaking ding that pops up 30 seconds
Oh,
into
yeah.
every single show. That is consistent on every show. This error pops up on my screen and says,
I didn't
like,
hear the ding this time.
it dinged. It dinged.
Oh, did it
I think
ding?
you were talking. You were interrupting the ding.
Damn
So
it, ding.
Yep. So, like I said, join us live because we enjoy mass participation as much as possible. So we can feel like we're actually talking to somebody other than ourselves, which we have no problem talking to
No,
ourselves.
we do it all the time.
Yes, we actually enjoy that, but we like talking to you more. So join the fun, join the conversation, and
And
have fun with it.
And more than us talking to each other that we like to hear, or ourselves, is we like to hear you talk back to us.
Yes.
So
Exactly. Talk
Maximum
back to us.
feedback is always appreciated.
Exactly. This week's show, we are going to be talking. We're kind of on the same course as the last couple weeks. Last week we had on Jose from the No Way Jose podcast to talk about some of the anti-government sentiment of the 90s. We talked about like Waco and Ruby Ridge and the Oklahoma City bombing and just different elements that like the militia movements of the 90s and how that spurt that built up in that time frame and what brought it on and stuff?
While we were talking, I got thinking, I was like, man, I thought there was a couple more. And so then I like Googled when we got back, and yes, there was a bombing at the Olympics.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
In '96. And
you know what helped is if you did your homework before the show instead of after the
well,
show.
yes, I know that. Well, and as we were talking though, it's like something like dinged to me, and I'm like,
Was
you
it
know,
that ding on the computer screen?
That was it. That was it.
Oh, something else.
Yes. Anyway, so but
That's what that is. That's you
Yes.
having a thought,
that's exactly what it is.
which is why it only dings once in a while.
Yeah, right. Just at the beginning.
Yes. Every once in a while, Bill has a thought.
Yes.
This week, we're kind of continuing suit. And actually, this is another topic that was kind of sparked to me through the No Way Jose podcast, because it's one of his guests. I was listening last week. One of his guests mentioned PATCON, and they were talking about the Whitmer trials and stuff. And so that kind of got my brain spinning.
Yeah.
And so this week, we're going to be talking about the FBI terror factory. Like how much of the terrorism that the FBI is working so diligently to thwart is actually semi-created by the FBI, or at least semi-funded by the FBI and
Right.
the resources obtained through the FBI? Like how much of the crime is actually being created by the people that are supposed to be fighting the crime?
And I was thinking about this as I was driving over. What it seems to me that they do is like this. You ever watch that movie Minority Report?
A long time ago. I
So
don't remember anything
It was
about
like this pre-crime, and basically like they try to get you on like your thoughts, right? And that's what they're basically doing is that there'll be some kid that they've seen on he fits the profile playing Fortnite, and they'll be like, hey, you know what really sucks? Oh, what's that? The United States.
Holy shit! How many feds do you think are on live video games?
Tons. That's
never even
that is
thought
like a
about
recruiting like.
Good God, I never even
Yes.
thought. I'm not a gamer, so I never
Yeah.
even thought
Oh
about
no,
that.
you know it.
Holy
They're just
shit.
looking for somebody playing Call of Duty to be like, man, I wish this was an American or something like that. And he's like, well, I know a guy.
Yeah.
But then they like lead him to water and be like, oh well, they really hate your people, America, and they'll probably enslave all of you if they get a chance. You should do something about that and become a hero.
Before we get too deep into this, we obviously got to mention our sponsor, which is Run Your Mouth Coffee, who is opposed to the criminalization of thoughts and the criminalization of words. Until you've actually perpetrated crimes, you're not a criminal, I guess, is what I'm getting at there. Run Your Mouth Coffee supports your right to free speech and be able to say, run your mouth and speak out against your government if you want to without the FBI pushing you into some terrorist plot. They also make really good coffee as well. That side note, they make delicious coffee. Go to rymcoffee.com. Tell them we sent you by using the promo code BreakTheBell, and you'll get 10% off your purchase plus free shipping, and that's a freaking awesome deal. And you'll also support a company that supports your individual liberties and rights, such as free speech. I'm not saying they support terrorists, but I think they're against the FBI entrapping people into some made-up terrorist plot.
Yes.
So I'm putting words in their mouth as usual. I think every week we put words in their mouth.
Probably. And they're probably like looking through and like, no, we never said that.
But that's all right.
Yeah. But you know what they won't entrap you with, or they will entrap you with?
It's
A
good
great
coffee.
cup of coffee.
Mm-hmm. They will entrap the shit out of you with a delicious cup of coffee. That's rymcoffee.com. Go to it. Drink their coffee. I also got to mention, we do have a store. If you want to support us a little more than just listening, which is ideally what we really want you to do is listen to our show. But if you really enjoy what we're doing, and you want to take it a little step further and support us a little more, we do have a store at breakthebellpod.com or at breakthebell.bigcartel.com, and it's got these awesome designs. These are just a couple to name a few. We've got right here, I Will Not Eat Your Bugs, and it also says, join the Anti-Cricket Brigade at the bottom. So get that shirt. Plus, there's this one here that says, we are not your pawns. And that's my favorite design of all of them. And then there's also some mugs, some other t-shirt designs. Go to breakthebeltpod.com if you want any of that merch. Support us. Wear awesome merch designs like that.
Yes.
Don't forget, tomorrow morning is the next installment of the Two Scoops show, which is the morning news show. That's a co-op between me and Dan Smots, my brother of the System Is Down podcast, where we do like a 15-20 minute breakdown of the most bizarre thing that we decide to talk about in the mornings. That's every Tuesday and Thursday morning that we feel like doing it at 7 a.m. tentatively. I don't want to get your hopes up because last Thursday we didn't do it, but we kicked it off last Tuesday. So,
But you gave like pre-warning, like
yes,
hey, Thursday morning's not happening.
Yeah,
so.
we like to set the bar high right off the bat. So that's Two Scoops morning show. It's going to be, I'm not sure which platform it's going to be streaming on. Hang on, maybe my brother responded. He said, "I don't care." Because I said, what channel are we streaming on tomorrow? He said, I don't care. So we'll just say it's on the System Is Down podcast channel tomorrow, and then Thursday it will be back on our channel. So we're going to jump back and forth so we can pull you both directions. And so you can't just get too comfortable on one platform. You got to be on both of ours to hear all the news. So that's 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We'll just go with the System Is Down podcast channel. Check it out. You're not going to want to miss it, because especially if you don't like listening to these bullshit 2-hour shows that we do every week, you're like, man, this is way too freaking long. This is for you. This is like 15, 20, 30 minutes at most is all I will allow that early in the morning. And that's a stretch that early in the morning for me. Wake up. It's not the best part of waking up is Folgers anymore, because then I just want to go back to bed. The best part of waking up is 2 scoops in your face, I guess. So just check it out. It's awesome. It'll be a fun time. Otherwise, check us out all over social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Break the Bell Pod. Like, share, subscribe. Get the word out there. Spread the word far and wide all over faces. I don't know. Anything else before? Did I miss anything?
No, just we appreciate any feedback you give us.
Yes,
all the time.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
We
First
help
and
us
foremost.
help you.
Yes, exactly. We got to get into the show, so I had a lot of pre-show stuff to cover there. So it's like the further we go, the more pre-show stuff there is.
We're gonna have to have another show just for pre-show.
Just for the pre-show, yes. So check out all those things that I said. We're going to get right into the show, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the FBI Terror Factory. Here we go.
What did you say?
You talking to me?
What the heck are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say? What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
What did you say?
What did you say?
Are you talking to me?
Well, maybe he was talking to me.
What did you say?
Talk to me.
What in heaven's name are you talking about?
Talk to me, baby.
Did you just say?
What did you say?
You listen to me. Are you talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Good afternoon. Earlier today, Attorney General Dana Nessel was joined by officials from the Department of Justice and the FBI to announce state and federal charges against 13 members of 2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me. When I put my hand on the Bible and took the oath of office 22 months ago, I knew this job would be hard. But I'll be honest, I never could have imagined anything like this. I want to start by saying thank you to our law enforcement. Thank you to the fearless FBI agents. And thank you to the brave Michigan State Police troopers who participated in this operation, acting under the leadership of Colonel Joe Gasper.
Is Joe Gasper a police officer? Because I didn't know they had a rank of colonel. Or is he the Iraq war vet?
He's the biggest part I got out of that was the participation of the FBI and the police force, and it's just like, little are they alluding to here of how much exact participation we're talking about here.
Right.
Like, is that like a Freudian slip where she's like, and the participation, literally the participation of the FBI and all of this.
No, I'm sure it's one of those wink, wink inside jokes, and then like the FBI guys are doing high fives in the back room.
Yes. Participation. You're damn right. What just happened?
Sonic scream.
Good God, man.
I won't do that again.
Yeah, please don't. Holy shit, I think you blew my mic out. Oh, so... let's go back. Let's kill the music. I want to listen to that first couple of lines that she said there real quick because, oh God, it's so freaking laughable. Just the thing she said.
Today, Attorney General Dana Nessel was joined by officials from the Department of Justice and the FBI to announce state and federal charges against 13 members of 2 militia groups who were preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
Kidnap and possibly kill
I put my hand
me.
on the Bible and took the oath of office 22
All right,
months
pause,
ago.
damn it.
I can't stop watching the sign language
I know.
lady.
First of all, she looks like a freaking alien.
No shit.
But look, I mean, does this look like the characteristics of a person that possibly would have been kidnapped and murdered? No, she's smirking while she's giving this statement.
Oh yeah, because she just got one over on him.
Yeah,
right.
She's like smiling, like half smiling, and clearly reading this whole thing. There's no emotion.
Yeah,
you think she'd at least pull the AOC card and like express her PTSD after the moment.
From what I've heard about this lady, is she is cold as ice.
Yeah, she was like the COVID tyrant governor.
She was of so
2020.
5 babies died yesterday. And then we're having a Super Bowl party later. So come on over.
Rebel with the Cause podcast is here.
Hey,
and said,
Rebel with the Cause.
Someone put on their participants. Is that? Thank you for your participants. I need some participants myself. We should come out with that merch. We should come out with a pair of pants called participants. So, Governor Whitmer, this whole plot, this whole past week has been the trial of at least I think this is the retrial going on right now of a couple of the defendants. Yeah. Well, a couple of them got acquitted, and then a couple of them got mistrials. Like the jury couldn't come to a conclusion, so they're going through this new trial now. So right now, at least last week, the government was wasting countless of our precious tax dollars on this trial of these quote-unquote would-be kidnappers and murderers of Gretchen Whitmer.
Yes. What is it, the Watchmen Wolverines or the Wolverine Watchmen?
Yeah, something like that, out of Michigan.
It's a cool name.
It's kind of the cheesiest name in the history of names, but we'll go with it.
And they're probably going with the whole, what was it, oh God, what was that 80s movie where the Russians attacked? Where they're like, Wolverines!
I don't remember.
Somebody who's watching knows.
Where did my article go that I had for this? The goddamn FBI is closing my articles out. Anyway, Rebel with the Cause says, hey, Rebel with the Cause, let us get our shit together while you sit here and watch. So this from BuzzFeed. I found the article I was looking for. This is from BuzzFeed. I'm going to start in the middle to get the story of the Gretchen Whitmer plot, just to refresh your memories, because this was pre-January 6th. This was right before January 6th.
Yeah, it was 2020 still, because it was theorized that it was because of all the strict COVID lockdowns.
Right. So this is an old article, but this is what is going on right now. The reason why we're talking about it now is because the trial is happening as we speak. So it is still relevant, and we want to talk about it. So this says, the alleged plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer made international headlines last October, so October 2020, when the Department of Justice announced it had charged 6 men in a kidnapping conspiracy. 5 of the defendants, Barry Croft, Adam Fox, Daniel Harris, Caleb Franks, and Brandon Caserta, have all pled not guilty and have been held without bail since their arrests.
Is this the article that has the pictures of them? because like there were 6 pictures in one of the articles you sent, and they all looked like pretty good, like clean American kids. And then there's this one guy in the middle that looks like Uncle Fester.
That's probably the Fed in the group.
It probably is. Like, hey man, want to take down a government?
Yeah. So it says, according to the Justice Department, the men met and trained over a 6-month period in 2020, during which time they developed a plan to kidnap Whitmer from her second home and possibly take her out of state where she could be put on trial for being a quote-unquote tyrant. I don't think you need to put that in quotes because she is a fucking tyrant.
She is. You don't need to put that in.
No plan was ever executed before authorities made arrests. So it said 6 men, right? 6 men were, where to say this? The alleged plot to kidnap.
Take her out of
the
state.
6, the 5 of 6. The 6th one, it says, cooperated, like he took a plea deal and cooperated.
Oh, of
so,
course.
Yeah, so he's a bitch.
Yeah.
But it goes on to say 8 other men were charged under Michigan's anti-terrorism statutes for providing material support to the plotters. Half of the defendants in the combined cases were members of a militant group known as the Wolverine Watchmen, which was associated with the 3 Percenters extremist movement. All but 2 are from the state of Michigan. All right, so that's the whole overline, like outline of it, narrative, yeah. So these guys in this supposed militant group, which we remember we showed all the symbols of how to recognize a militant,
an MVE.
Yeah, a militant
violent
extremist group. And we're talking like Betsy Ross flags, talking about like Second Amendment stuff. We're talking about Punisher skulls, the Don't Tread on Me flag. So all these things, if you see these things, make sure you report it to your local FBI agent.
Say something.
So your local FBI agent can turn them into an informant and entrap them into some sort of terrorist plot. So these 6 guys, all hanging out, being militants, as militants do, shooting guns and shit, and start talking about, what'd be a great idea. Why don't you hate Governor Whitmer? I hate Governor Whitmer too. She is a tyrant. Maybe we should do something about it. Maybe we should go kidnap her. Maybe we should take her and try her out of state for like a civilian trial, like civilian court proceeding. And then at some point it got to the point of, maybe we should fucking kill her. Maybe we should hang her.
Did they really get to that point where they're like, we need to just kill her?
That's the narrative. You heard Whitmer. She's like, and potentially kill me.
I can see her just saying that just for drama's sake.
All right, so speaking of just saying this
for drama's sake,
is it a crime? Is it a crime for a group of guys to be sitting around drinking beers, possibly shooting guns at metal targets and stuff, and be like, I fucking hate the government. I think somebody should hang her. Is that a crime?
No, not at all.
No,
we do it all the time. No, we don't.
Is that considered plotting to murder or plotting?
No.
I mean, from what the defendants say, that's basically what this kind of was. Like a bunch of hotheads running their mouths and maybe clearly an FBI agent kind of come in and like stir shit up more than it was.
Yeah.
Because the FBI informants were like fronting, we've talked about this in the past, we're fronting the travel pay to get to the locations. I think even because they talk about a couple of these guys like scouting out her house and stuff. And I think there was an informant that took them to her house to scout the place out.
Like
they're paying for food.
They're sitting around, they're like shooting, drinking some beers, and someone's like, she needs to be held accountable. We need to take her to the next state over where they can like persecute her.
And some guy's like, I could help you with that.
I know where she lives.
I got a hotel. You guys come stay in this hotel with me. You got here, have some ammo, have some.
Well, and he was probably even like, no one's going to prosecute her. I mean, you're probably better off just killing her, right?
Yeah,
and they're like, well, that seems extreme, but okay,
So scrolling to the top of this article gets to my main point of the show. The headline of this article, which came out last year, which says, the FBI allegedly used at least 12 informants in the Michigan kidnapping case. Now, when you go back to the people that were charged that clearly aren't informants, because
5
informants,
of the 6.
well, yeah, informants don't get charged. There's 6 people that were arrested, and then 8 more people. You're talking 14 people total that weren't informants, and you have 12 people that are informants. So almost half of the people involved in this plot were part of the fucking FBI.
Yeah.
And that makes me, I'm going to pose this question now before, and then I'll probably ask it on, because there's so many cases of this that we're going to discuss. Couldn't they have stopped this from moving forward?
Of course they could.
I mean, there's 12 of them there. Wouldn't it do more for them to talk them off the ledge if they were already in that mindset? Because you talked about, what were we talking about? Like the kids on video games where they have this ideology and you push them to the next level. Instead of pushing them to the next level, why don't you bring them down to reality?
One of the articles you'd sent me, and I don't know if we're going to talk about it, but it was the Herald Plaza bombing kid.
Yeah.
Who FBI agent basically hooked him up with someone to get him explosives and stuff, and then he even was like, no, I can't do this, and then the guy
basically threatened him.
Well, yeah, he's like, you better fucking do it now.
No, you will do this.
Yeah, you will do it, and he's like, okay, and then he pushes the button, nothing happens, and then they arrest him.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, yeah, they set the whole fucking thing up.
Yeah, and again, even if they didn't, but they're aware, even if they're just bystanders that are just keeping an eye on it, it's like, instead of, hey, let's see how far this goes, because there's how many cases do you think are possibly out there we don't know of where they're like, let's see how far this goes, and we'll stop him at the last. We'll catch him red-handed, and the FBI being as efficient as they are, oops, we missed, and the bomb goes off.
Well, okay. How many school shooters have there been when they're like, well, he was on our watch list?
Yeah,
right.
It's like, I mean, so what were you watching?
Yeah,
what exactly
so it's
were you
what
watching?
What the fuck were you doing?
Yeah, it's
I mean, did they? Well, but did they give them the weapons? I mean, everybody's like, well, how did an 18-year-old get AR-15? Well, maybe they fucking sold it to him. Right?
Right.
I mean, it's just
exactly.
How far are they getting into this stuff?
We're going to get into how much the government or the FBI provides, and if the FBI was never there to begin with, would it have ever turned into anything more than nothing?
Fucking Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
The Nazis never would have found the Ark if it wasn't for him.
Yeah. Assholes. So this says the government employed at least a dozen confidential informants to infiltrate groups of armed extremists who allegedly plotted to kidnap the governor of Michigan, according to a new filing in federal court on Monday. The filing made by one of the 5 defendants in the federal case asked the prosecutors to be ordered to share more information about those informants, their relationship with the FBI, and specific roles they played in building the case. It came among a blizzard of 15 new defense motions in the high-profile case, including requests to move it to a different district, to suppress evidence from a search warrant, and to try at least one defendant separately from the other. So it sounds like a major shit show going on right now. Yeah. Or throughout this whole thing. For the last year, basically, it's been a shit show. And I mean, these people's lives are destroyed. One of the people that they talked about was this Brandon Caserta guy. And he was actually on the No Way Jose podcast. That's what turned me on to this. He was one of the, I don't know where all my fucking articles went. I had this stuff pulled up. So basically, this guy says, straight up, if it wasn't for the FBI, none of this would have happened. It would have never gotten this far.
Yeah.
Nobody would have had the resources that nobody, they were. So listening to this guy's interview, go to the No Way Jose podcast and listen to the interview with Brandon Caserta, because, I mean, you'll get way more information than I have time to talk about right now. But basically, what he is saying is, he was already kind of getting this anti-government kind of mindset like we have, this paranoia towards the government, and with all this stuff that's going on right now, especially with the COVID lockdowns and everything going on, that he just reached out and wanted to join groups and stuff.
Right.
Like-minded groups. And he got involved in this group that was basically from what I gather, this guy was probably one of the FBI informants. It's like this guy had like a plot of land. It's like, hey, you want to come out and shoot guns? We'll talk things over. And it was basically kind of like a gun club where they just kind of bitched about the government.
Right.
And from what he talks, that's about the extent of it until all of a sudden there was all this like talk coming up. Like he never heard the plot being made, but it just kind of filtered through. But he was never part of that conversation to kidnap Whitmer. And so he's one of the ones that got acquitted.
Oh, okay.
But it came down to like, they're like, it was basically like what we said, we should do something about this. And they're like, oh, yeah. And then they start to back down. It's like, and they keep ramping them back up. It's like, no, we got to do so. Let's kidnap her. And they're like, we're not going to do that. Then it somehow turned into, let's kill her. And it's just like, and they end up bringing in a female informant to give them drugs and have sex with them and try to convince them to carry this thing out. Yeah, this is according to the Brandon Concerta guy. So, like I said, go back and listen to that because, I mean, it just reeks of entrapment, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it comes back to like what I was saying. It's like if you suspect these guys are like up to something, the moral duty would be to talk them out of it primarily, not talk them into it and catch them in the act.
Right. Yeah.
It goes back to what we were talking about Waco last week, where it's like, well, we know this guy's a bad guy, so we got to go and get him, and we got to make a big deal of it. We can't just arrest him on the streets.
Right. Yeah.
We got to have a big show, like publicized show of force.
Yeah, because otherwise nobody would think there's ever a problem with militias.
Yeah.
Right? But because they push it to the point of action, then they can bust and be like, 6 guys were arrested for plotting on kidnapping the governor of Michigan, right? I mean, isn't that a scarier headline than 6 yahoos
FBI
sitting around
thwarts.
drinking beer?
Yeah, right. Yeah. 5 men talked down over a beer from anti-government.
From doing some stupid shit.
Yeah. 5 guys talking shit over a beer, and they were talked out of. They were told, no, that's a stupid idea. I mean, that's not a sexy headline.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it does. It's not going to get people being like, "Oh shit, someone needs to do something."
But again, like, how many conversations have you had where it's just like,
yeah,
well, if it comes down to it, I mean, you got to stand up to a government like this. I mean, that doesn't mean that we're plotting anything.
Yeah.
We've
said that on the show.
It's so many times, actually. But it's disgusting how far this like progressed to the point where like we know because of court documents that they were funding at least the travel of it. They were funding probably the ammo of it. If it's hey,
I would imagine,
come here and shoot guns. They're probably
I think I read that they provided like a stun gun too.
Oh,
because
probably
they were going to stun her.
Yeah,
but that's exactly why when Jim Dude came and he's like, I'm looking for some like-minded people. I'm like, I don't know anybody.
yeah, you're Jim Dude.
Yeah,
that is sketchy to me.
Yeah,
that reeks of Fed to me. So what do you think of this whole Whitmer case?
Yeah,
do you think any of these guys go to jail?
I don't think so because I think there's so much evidence of entrapment. I think it just goes away.
What do you think after all this coming out, this whole FBI entrapment stuff coming out? And the FBI is like, no, that's not entrapment.
No.
Even the judge in one of the trials was like, it's not entrapment when you agreed to do it. That's not entrapment.
But I disagree because if you're again, the biggest crime is usually done because of opportunity, right? And how difficult is it to find transportation and resources to pull something like this off? So a lot of times it's just talk.
Right.
And then it's like, oh, well, that would be cool, but, we can't do that. I got to be at work on Monday, but then it's when you got the FBI guys there, be like, well, I got a car and a plane ready to go and
I can
a
give
bunch
you money.
of
I can fund. You don't have to work. I'll give you a couple bucks.
You'll be good for a couple weeks. We need to get this done now. I mean, then it changes, right? And who wants to be the guy drinking beer trying to be a badass and be like, oh shit, guys, I don't really feel like
I
doing
wasn't
that now.
serious.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
I wasn't-
Fuck.
Yeah, I thought we were joking.
And
I
then
thought we were,
even then, if he said that, the FBI guy'd probably be like, pussy.
yeah, exactly. You want your friends to call you a pussy?
You just all
Like-
talk, man.
Like it's one thing to have the crazy ideas in your head because I think probably 90% of people have crazy ideas in their head and the rest are just freaking drones.
Yeah.
It's another thing to have the nerve to pull something off and B, the resources to follow through with it.
Absolutely.
Well, it's like classic example. You remember the kid that was like suicidal and his
Yes.
girlfriend kept
Yes.
texting him and texting him to stop
Did
being
you
a
do it
pussy.
yet?
Stop being a pussy and do it. And then he did it. Well,
Yeah.
she was held responsible for that
Absolutely.
because she pushed him over the edge.
That's the
Well,
exact same thing
How,
as far as
how
I'm
is-
concerned.
how are
Yeah.
these people not held responsible for pushing them over the edge?
Yes.
They have this idea in their head. Instead of talking them off the ledge,
Yeah.
saying, take your finger off the trigger, it's like,
Yeah.
no, fucking do it, man.
Yeah. No,
And yet,
absolutely.
they wait till that. I guess the difference is they would wait till he's like literally got the gun to his head, the chick, and
Right.
he's like the trigger is halfway pulled, and she's
Yeah.
like, whoa, I'm just kidding,
I mean,
kidding.
maybe because
but
again,
then-
how many mass shootings have there been where it goes too far, and then they're
Right.
like, "Oh, we were
Well, that's-
watching the guy."
That's what I was gonna say. It's like, what are the chances that oops, my finger accidentally slipped after you said, well, you startled me and my
Yeah,
finger
right.
slipped and I blew my brains out.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I wasn't responsible because I told him not
Right.
to do it at the last second, so that's not on me.
Now, the difference would be if they were just one of the guys there, right, sitting, watching things
Right,
happen,
just
and
monitoring.
Yeah, just monitoring, not offering any
or
solutions or any
at least being like, do we really want to do this?
Yeah,
Maybe be that.
like, yeah, right. Do you think this is a good idea, guys? And they're like, "Oh no, we're doing it. We already got it set up." And then make your move and then get it right. I mean, that would be a totally different situation
You would
because then
think
you're not funding and setting things up. You're not facilitating the thing. Like this seems to be the case.
Yes, absolutely.
This
the
seems like to
case.
be a total FBI op.
Yes. Well, it's like what we talked last week about Randy Weaver. We talked quite a bit about Ruby Ridge, but the FBI likes to prey on like the more susceptible individuals, and they thought Randy Weaver was one of these guys where, hey, if we get him in something, then we can prey on him, and we can, like they have these like kind of dumb participants that they find themselves in a shitty situation. It's like, well, we got you now.
Right.
Well, Randy Weaver's like, fuck that. You don't got you don't got shit.
Well, but it sounds to me with Weaver is that they maybe were targeting him, trying to make him an informant.
Well, yeah,
because he
that's
was
exactly what they were doing.
deep within a
Yes.
community that they wanted to get into.
That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
It's like you find the, like I said, susceptible individual to like maybe entrap them in something small, so then you can take down the big target.
Right.
And that's kind of what's going on here. They get these. I don't think these informants were actually agents. They were probably dumbasses that got arrested for drug charges or something petty.
Stupid, yeah.
And they're like, "Hey, now you're going to play this militant role, and you're going to go in and do this, so we can take down the big fish, the big white supremacist or anti-government militia movements, and we can have a big one instead of having this little petty drug deal arrest." We can have this big fish,
and then
for
we
the
get
win.
the big headlines.
I mean, that's their MO.
Oh,
it has
absolutely.
been for a long time, and it takes me to the article I sent you. If that one shows up, why did half of my articles disappear? That's here it is. Going back to the 1990s, which we talked a lot about. So we're not going to spend a ton of time in the 90s, but this is their MO, and this is from the Epoch Times. It talks about they actually had an like an FBI operation called PATCON, which is when they infiltrated these militia groups, and they were saying they were just there to like monitor the situation and take them down from the inside or whatever. But the grand scheme of it, it was something. It usually turned into something bigger to where they were funding. They were providing resources that would not have been gained by those groups had it not been for the FBI. So this is from Epoch Times. It's titled "PATCON Explored. Records provide a glimpse of FBI right-wing infiltration ops." So this one's really interesting to me. And again, this was brought to my attention by the No Way Jose podcast. Of course, it's not going to let me freaking read it because I got to subscribe or some stupid shit. Hang on, let me try. Let me read it all afternoon. And I knew once we got to this and won it. Maybe we'll see how far we can get. It says the FBI code named it. Go the fuck away. Named it Patriot Conspiracy, or PATCON, a 1990-era right-wing infiltration operation so secret its details still remain largely unknown. So it was really only came out into the public in 2007 through, I think, a FOIA request or something. So you're talking early 90s. This went on, and then finally in 2007.
Bush Senior?
Yeah. It says PATCON says first revealed heavily redacted records in 2007. PATCON entailed 3 undercover FBI agents, which is probably way more than that. There's 3 that they're telling us about. Operating a front group called the Veterans Aryan Movement, posing as a racist militiamen who robbed banks to fund domestic terrorism.
That sounds like Justified.
Yeah, right. Says the undercover agents spied on various right-wing organizations throughout the early 90s, but never contributed to any major convictions. So they did all the shit to like get this big win.
Right.
They potentially funded because, they're not just saying that they're robbing banks to fund domestic terrorism. You know, the FBI has some kind of payroll system where they're funding the domestic terrorism so they can get in, because they're not going to just show up and be like, hey guys, we rob banks and we can get money. You want to let us in? It'd be like, where's the money, dude?
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah,
you let us in first.
You let us know what the plan is, and that way we know how many banks to rob.
Yeah. If you let us know exactly what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, that'll give
Time
us
and place,
an idea of how much
involved.
money. No, they probably showed up. It's like, I got the cash.
Right.
You want to work with us? It says the existing public records on PATCON are relatively sparse. They include a few sworn declarations and a long-running FOIA lawsuit, as well as an initial set of redacted documents obtained by extremism researcher J.M. Berger. We need to get J.M. Berger on.
Yeah, we do.
Goes on to say, together, the documents portray an FBI program that prioritized intelligence gathering on U.S. citizens over enforcing the laws. So it wasn't so much, hey, we got to arrest these people. It's, hey, we want to gather a bunch of intel on people.
Yeah.
It's a spying op. We're spying on our own people.
Whereas typically the FBI would deal with bank robberies. They just let these go.
They let the shit go and see how far it goes, and then they gather intel, and then maybe that leads them again to a bigger fish, and then they infiltrate that group, and then maybe that leads to a bigger fish, and in the end, it led to little to no arrests. It says possibly worse, they reveal connections between PATCON and the Oklahoma City bomber Timothy McVeigh, raising troubling questions about how a massive FBI right-wing counterterrorism initiative failed to prevent the deadliest domestic attack in U.S. history.
That's a valid question.
That's how efficient they are.
Yeah,
I mean, they spend how many billions of dollars on this, and they're tracking these people and infiltrating these groups, and this guy is on their radar and
but that's
pulls it off.
One of those cases like you're talking about where, oops, pulled the trigger.
Yeah,
right? I mean,
exactly.
They're like, oh, shit, I thought they said this was happening on Tuesday.
So, Jose, I keep going back to him because he's the one that did the stuff on the OKC bombing. So, again, go back and check out the No Way Jose podcast. He's not paying me to say this stuff either. He was on our show last week if you want to hear more from him. But his guest, I think it was Richard Booth was his name. He's got a lot of information on this stuff. And so, I mean, this shit will blow your mind, a bigger hole in your brain than the Oklahoma City bombing. It goes on to say the FBI launched PATCON in 91 to investigate a right-wing extremist movement that had been bubbling under the surface of U.S. society throughout the 80s. Members included disaffected military veterans. Remember you brought up...
Yeah, Vietnam.
Yeah, you're like, I wonder if these Vietnam vets that were kind of being ignored for the last 10 years, if they were pushed into this kind of movement. Well, this says it right there. Displaced farmers, as well as a fringe group of racist extremists. While hundreds of militias and armed conservative organizations operated peacefully during this time, one particular group, Committee of the States, dominated the spotlight with its violent actions and anti-Semitic screed. So this group is what got them thinking, hey, we got to go do something about this. So it says... Scrolling down, it says, to investigate any threats, the FBI created a front group called the Veterans Aryan Movement, outfitted with 3 undercover agents. VAM quickly infiltrated the militia scene by posing as anti-government extremists who robbed banks and armored cars to fund their operations. The agents soon discovered that the TLI militia lacked concrete plans to kill any federal law enforcers.
Sorry, guys, this is a bust. Let's move to the next one.
That or, hey, they don't have plans. We could give them plans. They don't have
there you go,
resources.
right?
We could give them resources.
Yeah, we can get this TLI up there.
It says, instead of closing their investigation, the FBI kept its VAM front group operating as a vehicle to collect evidence of the criminal activity of suspected domestic terrorism organizations. So, thought crimes. Now, they're not doing anything wrong, but
yeah,
potentially,
Right.
potentially they could be doing something. It says, one of PATCON's main target was Tom Posey, a Vietnam veteran who helped. This is interesting. I want to look more into this guy. Tom Posey was a Vietnam vet who helped train anti-communist fighters in Nicaragua during the Reagan administration. He became radicalized after he felt that Reagan's administration threw him under the bus amid the Iran-Contra scandal. So probably these guys participating in these events, these anti-communist things that we're not supposed to be participating in, it comes to light, and Reagan's just like, oh, those fucking violent
I
extremists.
don't know anything about these guys.
I don't know
Yeah.
those guys. What are you talking about? And so
Yeah.
he's like, well, you're going to call me this. I'm going to be this thing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when you're serving your country, right? And you feel like you're doing your duty, and then they throw you under the bus, and be like, no, these guys have nothing to do with us. I mean, what? Then you're like, okay, well, that government doesn't serve my needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I need to branch out.
Right. Says by February '92, Posey was purportedly trying to sell Stinger anti-aircraft missiles on the black market.
Ambitious.
Matthews, also a Vietnam vet who worked with Posey and CMA in Nicaragua before becoming an informant, tried to help broker a deal as part of an attempted FBI sting operation. Says the FBI's documents and several interviews with people with direct knowledge of events paint a murky picture but offer no clear evidence the stingers had even been real. Says while the FBI Stinger sting never bore fruit, the FBI had connected Posey to 61 pairs of night vision goggles that had been stolen from Fort Hood.
Really?
However, the U.S. Army was running its own investigation in the matter and arrested the thief in January, ironically, after receiving a tip from Posey. So Posey buys all these NVGs from this thief from Fort Hood, and then he's like, these might be stolen.
I better let the Army know.
But the FBI arrests him later for buying stolen NVGs. And that's the only case during all of this operation of any. That's the most major arrest they got out of all of this.
Wow.
So talk about good use of government resources. Says historian Wendy Painting, who covered PATCON in her 2016 doctoral thesis, Aberration in the Heartland of the Real, takes a more dismal view of the program. So they're saying they were just sitting here monitoring the situation and trying to take down. And she claims that this is a lot worse than what they're making it out to be.
I believe her already.
Because I remember I said, if you're going in there saying that you're bank robbers that are funding these events, you got to show up with some collateral here to prove yourself. Because she says, in attempts to prove they were not feds, PATCON agents and informants set about successfully arranging the theft, often from military bases, sale and purchase of related contraband, mostly weapons, but sometimes explosives. So we got the FBI attempting to infiltrate these groups and thwart these plans. But in the meantime, they're providing them with all the ammunition and explosives to pull it off.
And robbery from military bases, is it possible that they stole 60 NVGs?
Right. Or where the fuck are you getting Stinger missiles from?
Right, yeah.
Maybe the FBI to sell back to the FBI and get arrested. It's just like...
Yeah.
It's the whole case in point. He never would have had Stinger missiles or NVGs or whatever to sell the FBI informant if it wasn't for the FBI informant on this side selling it through him.
Yeah, right.
It reminds me of, did you ever watch that MASH episode with Colonel Flagg? And then there's he's like CIA, and the other guy's like FBI, and they're like out to try to take each other down.
Yeah.
It's like he thinks that I'm CID and I'm really CIA, and his people and my people and your people, and they're like, can't you just let my people go?
Yeah.
That's what this it
is. Well, and during this time, we know that there was no communication, right? Between different. I mean, the communication between government organizations, like 80s and 90s, was shit.
Right.
That's
a whole joke on MASH.
Yeah.
And they were like competing for government funding and competing. It was like the other organization was the bad guy because they were.
Whoa. What happened?
I bumped a button.
Oh, okay.
It's time to go, apparently. Yeah, they're battling it out for government funding. And
so that wouldn't surprise me if that's what that was. Right?
So a little bit more about McVeigh. It says, fueling the debate is the fact that PATCON had brushes with the Oklahoma City bomber McVeigh, including when McVeigh attended the same Soldier of Fortune convention as Posey, the guy that became...
Yeah,
that they were tracking this whole time, and I think he turned informant at some point. It says Berger, who discovered PATCON in 2007 through the FOIA request, takes the view that the conspiracies surrounding PATCON are overblown, despite acknowledging research that McVeigh literally drove through the middle of a PATCON investigation landscape.
Wow.
So basically. Yeah, it says right here, Mr. Matthews told me that based upon his experience, he believed the FBI's real objective was to infiltrate and to incite fringe groups to violence. Okay, so the part that's in there about McVeigh, it says basically after the fact, or just prior to the fact, I can't remember, but some informant in the group was like, this guy McVeigh was seen with this guy here in this group here, and the FBI at the time was like, yeah, we know. We've been following him. We've been tracking him. And then all of a sudden, this fucking building blows up, and it's just like, what happened to your tracking?
Right.
And like, it makes you wonder. Looking at like the Whitmer case and like the provisions of explosive in these other cases and stuff, it's like, how much do they have a role in this?
No, that's a good question.
Because what that Richard Booth was talking about is they think potentially that was a sting operation gone bad. Because, you know, the ATF is located in that building, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to a lot of reports, the ATF was nowhere in the building at the time of the explosion because they were on a late night operation the night before. And coincidentally, the government building across the road, the security there was told, be on the lookout for... like anything, just be on the watch overnight tonight because something might go down tonight. So Richard Booth's theory is kind of maybe they set up a sting operation where McVeigh was supposed to blow up that building overnight, and then maybe he got wind that this stuff came out and decided, or maybe there was car troubles or something where he was delayed and they were supposed to catch him overnight.
Yeah.
And they didn't because it didn't happen overnight. It happened mid-morning.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like when they're doing this, they're playing Russian roulette.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they don't know who they're gonna get.
No.
They don't know, if the guy's gonna go off book, right? Be like, well, the plan was to blow up this building, but man, the DMV really pissed me off last week, so I'm gonna take them out.
Yeah. So it just like, is the FBI actually thwarting plots when they're so complicit in
It sounds like
arming
they're perpetrating them.
In the very least, they're like giving them providing the resources that they never would have got their hands on to begin with if it wasn't for the FBI doing it. So they can make this big bust, this big arrest. Because, like I said, it's a lot to go from I want to blow up a building to I got all these explosives and all this ammo and all this travel expense money, and now I have all the resources here to blow up this fucking building.
Yeah.
It's like
so I guess
there's a big step there that we're missing, and a lot of that gets provided by the FBI.
And like I said, it's a lot of these people, it's just a passing thought, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it is. It's like, man, if I had an opportunity, I sure would go rob a bank, for $500,000. Someone's like, well, I got all the codes to that alarm system and the code to the safe, and I happen to know they're going to have a full safe, and I'll take you there. I mean, it's like, it's often crimes of opportunity, but they're giving the opportunity and everything else they need to get it done.
Right.
So
here's another example. This might not have been incited, but this was definitely another example of FBI playing Russian roulette. Instead of just fucking arresting the guy to begin with, trying to expose this plot before it happens. Do you remember the first World Trade Center bombing?
It's like 92, 93?
So, right in that same time frame that the FBI was doing a bang-up job. Literally a bang-up job.
Yeah, right.
This is from the New York Times, actually. Apparently, the FBI kind of flubbed this one because they very much could have thwarted that bombing. Because this says, tapes depict a proposal to thwart bombing used in the Trade Center blast. So let me read this one. Again, this is from New York Times, October 28, 1993. It says, law enforcement officials were told that terrorists were building a bomb that would eventually be used to blow up the World Trade Center, and they planned to thwart the plotters by secretly substituting harmless powder for the explosives, an informer said after the blast. The informer was to have helped the plotters build the bomb and supply fake powder, but the plan was called off by an FBI supervisor who had other ideas for how the informer, Ahmad Salam, should be used, the informer said. So they arrest this guy for whatever, and they're just like, we're going to use you. And this guy's like, hey, they're going to blow this shit up. And they're like, well, we're going to use you. You're going to help you're going to continue helping them make this bomb, but you're going to provide them with this fake powder, so it's never going to go off. And then this new supervisor or whatever comes in. He's like, no, this is my show. I'm running the show. We're not doing this. I want to use him for this instead. So that guy never got the fake powder to the bomb. And then at the end of the day, the bomb went off.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you could see the same thing happening with McVeigh, right?
Well, it's like, why didn't you just go fucking arrest them to begin with?
Exactly. If they're that far into it, yes, just go get them instead of. Well,
even if you have nothing,
we got to wait till he pulls the trigger.
I'm hesitant to say this, but even if you have very little evidence on them, at least go knock on the door and be like, I know you know that I know that you know, and maybe that would be enough to be like, oh, they know.
I mean, it was like the Uvalde the kids that planned the shooting back in what was it, 2016?
Yeah, something like that.
And to do it in 2022, it's like the kids had plans, and they went and got them.
Did we ever conclude that was the same kids though?
No, well, I mean, no. I think they were different kids.
They'll never come out if we think.
Well, that's
kids.
Well, but obviously they missed a kid because it was the same day.
They missed something.
Yeah, they missed something.
Or they wanted to see how this would play out.
Right? Yeah, maybe they're like, well, there was a third kid. Well, let's see what happens with this then.
Yeah, so they
I see them kicking back with that popcorn, that Michael Jackson, just to see what happens.
Yes. Says the account, which was given in transcript of hundreds of hours of tape recordings, Mr. Salem secretly made of his talks with law enforcement agents. How is he secretly recording himself? Like, do they not search him? Man, they're really
well, they probably just figured, well, he doesn't know.
Says portrays the authorities as in a far better position than previously known to foil the bombing of New York's tallest towers. The explosion left 6 people dead, more than 1,000 injured, and damages in excess of $500 million, which today was probably billions of dollars. Right. So it says he was a 43-year-old Egyptian army officer used by the government to penetrate a circle of Muslim extremists now charged in the 2 bombing cases, which never would have happened.
Right. If they just went
if you had gone and done it. The guy goes on to say, he requested to meet me in a hotel. He requested to make me testify. If he didn't push for that, we'll be building the bomb with a phony powder and grabbing the people who was involved in it. But since we didn't do that. So he was talking to the supervisor. It's like, this is your fault.
This is on you, man.
Yeah. But again, if they had never push it to that level where they're about to pull the trigger, that bomb never would have gone off.
Yeah.
And That's just what they're telling us.
Right.
How much of it was actually like instigated or like pushed?
yeah.
Like, you guys know you want to blow the shit up, right?
Yeah,
You know.
Shit, the World Trade Centers. I mean, that's
symbolic.
a big target right there.
That's so much symbolism there. It's just like they're seemingly making terrorists worse in the very least, if not creating terrorists on their own. So before we get it's about time for break, but before we do, I guess I have the question. Why are they this way? On one hand, it's either A, they're really fucking bad at their job, which is probably the case, or B, it's for job security, a better way to like secure funding. It's like, well, we're this anti-terrorist agency and we can't find terrorism. So if we create our own push people to terrorism, then we can take out the bad guys and still retain our funding of this organization and convince people that we are a legitimate organization.
They're making the world safe for democracy, right? I mean, it's like, we got these right-wing groups, but they're not real dangerous, but they could be. So if we instigate something where we catch them in the act, then they're already off the board and we don't have to worry about them. Right? But how many more are you making?
Yes, exactly. Or like how many, not only the people that you're directly influencing, well, look at like Waco incident. Like how many militants rose up like that's bullshit, and then you just made a bunch of more enemies.
Yeah, like that little flyer we talked about yesterday that MVEs may reference Ruby Ridge and Waco. That's a pretty big recruiting tool for MVEs.
Yes. Yeah, it's like this one guy you entrapped into becoming supposedly trying to make your informant through these same kinds of tactics. That was blatant PATCON operative there. Whether or not it was under the umbrella of PATCON, that was blatantly what they were doing. It was a PATCON type movement or operation there. Yeah. So by doing that, you made him into a martyr, first of all.
Right.
It's because, I mean, that was nationally publicized. You made yourself look like dumbasses. Yeah. And you pissed off all these other militants that already say the government's coming to take us. The government's coming to take us out. You just proved that, and you just probably tenfold increased the people that had those kinds of sentiment.
Absolutely.
And so whether directly or indirectly, you're making more terrorists by your actions.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about time for a break. What do you think so far?
Yeah, that's batshit crazy, man.
This is the government we live with. This is what our taxpayers fund.
But again, when you look at any government program, do they do anything right?
No.
So the fact that they're
like the on hand A, they're just bad at their job. Yeah, they're really fucking bad at their job.
Yeah, absolutely. But they think they're so good, and then they letting people play with bombs and trying to get them to the point where they can catch them in the act. And inadvertently, they're gonna fuck up. They're gonna go to the wrong site, or they're selling the real shit instead of the fake shit, or some new boss comes in and is like, no, we're gonna use him, and then they forget to do the fake handoff, and it's like,
and then bombs really blow up.
I mean, it's the fucking government at its best.
Yes,
right there.
On the other hand, I don't put like reading all the stuff. I don't put it past them to just be like, well, what's a bomb going off here and there to make us look like...
Well, and that's what I wonder about...
Look like we need to be here.
That's what I wonder about some of these mass shootings. It's like, we were watching him, and it's like, okay, well, you didn't do shit about it.
Yeah, look, the Parkland shooter was a class example. If you type in, like, FBI instigates blah, 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 like terror or something, one of the top ones that pops up is the Parkland shooter, is the Florida shooter, because... He was like hard on the radar. Like there were people that were like, "This guy is planning something." Yeah. It's not like, "Oh, this guy's a little weird. You should keep an eye." It's like this guy is planning something. He's saying, and they're just like, "Yeah, we'll keep an eye on him. See what happens." And then Parkland goes off, and it's just like, all right, what the fuck were you doing?"
Right, exactly. Yeah, and again, but then it makes me be like, well, yeah, it sucks, but. Maybe we'll get guns off the streets.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a couple dead people. I mean, if you think about it, if the plan is to legitimize your organization, I mean, the public can only hear, hey, we beat the bad guys. We took down this plot. We foiled this plot. They can only hear that so many times before they're like, yeah, another plot got foiled. Okay, whatever. I mean, at some point you gotta maybe. I'm not saying.
Right.
Allegedly, maybe just let one of those bombs go off so you can be like, see, I told you,
You need us.
You need us. Exactly.
No, right.
We got to get into break. We'll be back in just 3 or 4 minutes, and we're just going to continue down this road, talk a little more about PATCON, talk about a couple more examples, because I like digging into these because it makes me really pissed off. And that's where I like to be. So we will be right back in just a couple minutes. Goodbye.
Have you ever thought that maybe voting, maybe all this politics constantly surrounding you is not the way to achieve freedom in your life? Hi, I'm Remso W. Martinez, and I ask myself the same question. That's why I'm on a journey to find true freedom in my lifetime. From learning about financial independence, to new ways to develop rugged individualism, to amazing guests living strange, crazy, amazing lifestyles that you've only thought might be real, but actually are. Go ahead and check out my new show, On the Run with Remso W. Martinez at the We Are Libertarians Network. You can find On the Run with Remso W. Martinez on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play. You know how the internet works. Come on down and let's discover how to achieve real freedom in your life together.
Hey everybody, I just want to take this time to give a big shout out to the very first sponsor of the Break the Bell podcast. That is Goulash Media. They can be found at goulashmedia.net. Goulash Media specializes in graphic design, web design, audio recordings, video work, wedding videos, music videos, even political campaign videos. Goulash Media caters to the little guy with the big vision. You can check them out at goulashmedia.net. That's GOULASH media.net. And here we are.
We're back.
We're back.
You know, I was thinking over break because
you thought I didn't hear the ding.
Well, yeah, you missed it. You were in the other room. Anyways, that you talked about movies and FBI agents, and every movie I can remember, makes the FBI agents look like idiots.
Really?
Like, I mean, when I think like Die Hard, the FBI agents, they didn't know what they were doing. They came in, took over, and just.
The reason I
shit up.
said that is because one of the articles I read today said after the article or the FBI was formed, they kind of had a patent on their name, and for Hollywood to use the FBI in anything, they had to cast them in a positive light. So I wonder, like, when that time frame went downhill.
I would say like probably during the 80s,
probably.
Maybe. And then
probably after
the Blacklist always makes the FBI look like
obviously
idiots.
I wonder if that's what I was saying, like maybe 20, 30 years ago they were, but then maybe after a lot of these scandals start coming to light, it's like, maybe the patent ran out or something.
That could be,
I don't know, and people started realizing you guys are fucking morons.
But I mean, the FBI always looks inept, and CIA is always shady as fuck.
Yeah. So. Well, today in like more modern movies, but I bet you if you go back to like the 60s or 70s movies, it was probably the
totally
FBI's
different.
were taking down.
I'm doing research this week. I'm gonna go see.
Go watch a bunch of movies. That's your
with
research.
FBI agents.
So we talked about PATCON. We talked about a little bit about the Oklahoma City bombing. We talked about the Whitmer plot, which was a major screw up. I mean, that's got to be embarrassing. Like they've got to put somebody in jail so they can get
just on
win out of this.
Right.
Yeah, it's like how PATCON is the
even
only
if it's
charge.
The head FBI guy, put him in jail and be like, well, this wasn't really authorized. So.
Right. Well, it's like, why is that not going away? Go away, music. It's like what I was talking about PATCON, how like through a whole 3-year like sting op, the only major arrest they got was that guy who was selling stolen NVGs. It wasn't even or purchasing or something, and he even was just like, something's weird about this.
Yeah, right. He actually, he turned he turned him into the army because it didn't sound right.
I think that's when he turned like informant.
Probably.
Was after that arrest. So. I can't get like fully deep into all these articles because the show's already long enough.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's so much in all these.
Well, here's where I got the title of the show, the FBI Terror Factory. This is an article that came out in 2013, titled "Inside the Terror Factory," and it talks all about this and how a lot of these terrorists wouldn't be terrorists if it wasn't for the push, the gentle nudge of the FBI, or full out like shove.
Right.
And this one talks about that guy that you were talking about that. Was going to bomb
stock exchange.
The stock exchange. Yeah. That's from this article here. So it says starts out. It says Qazi Mohammed Nafis, who you're talking about, was a 21-year-old student living in Queens, New York, when the U.S. government helped turn him into a terrorist. Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's got these terrorist ideologies. What if we could make him a full-blown balls to the wall terrorist?
Yeah.
Says his transformation began on July 5th when Nafis, a Bangladeshi citizen who'd come to the United States on a student visa in January, shared aspirations with a man he believed he could trust. So this is, what year?
2013.
Well, that's when this came out, but it doesn't say the year that this took place.
I think it was like 2006 or something like that.
Yeah. Says Nafis told this man on a phone call that he wanted to wage jihad in the United States, that he enjoyed reading Al-Qaeda propaganda, and he admired Sheikh O.
All right, but so here's my question. He told him over the phone, all right? But he didn't initiate contact over the phone. He didn't call him up and be like, I'd like to talk to you about your Lord and Savior, Muhammad.
Yeah.
I mean, somehow contact was initiated beforehand, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, did they accidentally like dip their chocolate in their peanut butter and be like, hey, how about jihad? No.
Yeah, how did this contact get
exactly?
made?
And that's what I'm curious about is how do they initiate the contact? How do they see this guy and be like, yeah, he's somebody we need to hit up because he looks like he'll blow shit up.
Yeah. Well, it says he enjoyed reading this. So first of all, this guy does not reek of a classic terrorist because he's clearly a fucking moron to be having this conversation
Right.
over the phone.
Yeah, right, yeah.
After the 60s when we know every phone was bugged.
Right.
And if this was indeed early 2000s, after 9/11, if this was post 9/11.
Right. Yeah, no shit.
He's got to know that people, I mean, unless he's a dumbass, which it sounds to me like he was a dumbass.
Yeah.
But it says he likes to read Al-Qaeda propaganda. So he's just telling it. It's like, yeah, I want to have jihad. I love Al-Qaeda propaganda.
Yeah.
And
long walks on the beach. I'm a Pisces.
He admired Sheikh O, or Osama bin Laden.
Okay.
I didn't know he had a rapper name.
I didn't either. That's really cool, actually.
Yeah. So it says who this confidant was and how Nafis came to meet him remains unclear. So what you were saying. What we know from public documents is that the man told Nafis he could introduce him to an Al-Qaeda operative. It was a hot, sunny day in Central Park on July 24th when Nafis met with Kareem, who said he was with Al-Qaeda. How often do you think Al-Qaeda meets with some random dude? It's just like, hey, man, I'm with Al-Qaeda.
Yeah,
how are you?
Yeah,
I heard you want to have a jihad. I just happen to be with Al-Qaeda.
My wife and I, we jihad every weekend.
Said Nafis, who had a slight build, mop of black hair, and feebly grown beard, told Kareem that he was ready for action. Yeah, this guy sounds like a basement nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's probably, again,
a video game nerd.
Exactly. Initiated contact over video games.
He says, what I really mean is that I don't want something that's like small, he said. I just want something that's big. Something very big. Very, 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 very big.
Wait, was this a dating site he was on, or is this...
This is when he's talking to the Al-Qaeda dude.
I want something really big.
Want it huge. Says something that will shake the whole country. He said that he wanted to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. That was apparently his plan.
Okay. That would be huge.
I mean, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What dumbass basement dweller would be like, oh, the New York Stock Exchange, great idea.
Because he probably just watched Die Hard 3.
Oh, yeah, probably. Says, with the help of his new Al-Qaeda contact, he surveilled the iconic building at 11 Wall Street. We are going to need a lot of TNT or dynamite, Nafis told Kareem.
Dynamite?
But, yeah, Nafis didn't have any explosives. Or, as court records indicate, he didn't know anyone who could sell him explosives.
As 95% of the United States.
Yes, or 99% of the United States.
Yes.
It's like, all right. So man, it's kind of like the guys shooting the shit around,
Right.
a couple beers,
Yeah.
shooting guns. It's like, it would be really cool to kidnap. I mean, we're not going to do it. We have no way of doing it. But I got
know
the
a
getaway
guy.
car. I've got here's some travel, some plane tickets and stuff.
Yeah.
This guy was like, I want to do something big. I need to meet with some Al-Qaeda guy. And his contact's like, oh, I just happen to know a guy from Al-Qaeda. And he's like, well, I want to blow up this, and it's going to take a lot of explosives. I have no fucking idea where to get explosives. Right. And Al-Qaeda FBI guy is like,
to come across some.
I know a guy with explosives, no problem.
We just need someone to pull the trigger.
It says his father, a banker in Bangladesh, had spent his entire life savings to send Nafis to the United States. So
His
he couldn't
dad
have
was pissed.
Yeah, well, his dad couldn't have provided. He had no
right.
finances of his own.
Right.
So even if he did know an explosives guy, he had no way of procuring those explosives because he had
didn't
no
have the
fucking
money to get it.
It says, he spent all his money sending his son to the United States after his son, who was described to journalists by the people from his hometown as dim. He had flunked out of North-South University in Bangladesh. So he's a flunky. He's a dumbass that would call somebody up and be like, hey, you know any Al-Qaeda contacts? And then when some guy just shows up in a park and is like, hey, I'm with Al-Qaeda.
My name's Kareem.
Yeah. It says Kareem suggested they rent a storage facility to stash the material that they would need for a car bomb.
Brilliant, right?
He said he put up the money for it and get the material.
Ooh.
Nafis dutifully agreed and suggested a new target, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Nafis later met Kareem at the storage facility, where Nafis poured the materials Kareem had brought into trash cans, believing he was creating a 1,000-pound car bomb that could level a city block.
Jeez.
In truth, the stuff was inert, and Kareem was an undercover FBI agent, no shit, who was tipped off by the man who Nafis believed was a confidant or was an FBI informant. Yeah. So an FBI informant he's talking to through probably video game chat tips off an FBI agent who now is playing an undercover Kareem Al-Qaeda
I know this
agent.
kid. He wants to do something big. I think you can get one.
Says the FBI has secretly provided everything Nafis needed for the attack, not only the storage facility and supposed explosives, but also the detonator and the van that Nafis believed would deliver the bomb. So they provided literally fucking everything and planned it out for him because he's like, I want to do this. Well, you're going to need a van, and you're going to need these big trash cans, and you're going to need these explosives.
And it's really hard to
I'll
find
get you
parking
those.
on this block. So if you come at like 3 a.m.
Yes. Says the defendant thought he was striking a blow to the American economy, said U.S. Attorney Loretta Lynch.
Well, taking out the Fed, would he have, though?
Yeah, no, it would have probably helped the economy.
Right.
Says at every turn he was wrong, and his extensive efforts to strike at the heart of the nation's financial system were foiled by effective law enforcement.
Is that what that was?
That's Loretta Lynch saying this. Foiled by effective law enforcement. No, you didn't foil something.
Yeah.
You foiled what you put in motion to begin with. Because he never would have fucking got to this
poor
point.
dumbass kid. Yeah, they just. Oh my gosh.
It says, if you scroll on down, it says, Nafis is one of more than 150 men since 9/11 who have been caught in FBI terrorism stings, some who have received 25 years or more in prison. The FBI used one of its more than 15,000 registered informants, many of them criminals, and these guys get like up to $100,000 per job, per case.
Jeez.
Says the FBI now spends $3 billion on counterterrorism annually. But how many of these would-be terrorists would have acted were it not for the FBI agent provocateur helping them?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Exactly.
It's like that, again, that giant gap between I kind of think this should happen, and pulling it off,
Yeah.
the FBI filled in that gigantic gap for him.
Man, I really hated paying my taxes. Boy, I'd sure like to do something back to the United States. Well, I got something you can try.
So yeah, this was the guy that like parked the van,
Yeah.
got out, like moved a safe distance, dialed his phone that was supposed to set it off. Nothing happened, and then got arrested.
Do you think he dialed the phone and they're like, FBI?
He's like, fuck.
Wait, what?
Wait, sorry, I got the wrong number. Let me try again. FBI. Wait, this is supposed to be. Shit.
Yep.
He
Turn
probably
around.
still didn't realize.
Turn around, Nassif.
It says we poured through thousands of pages of court records and found that nearly half of all terrorism cases since 9/11 involved informants. Many of them paid as much as $100,000 per assignment.
Okay, all right, wait. Okay, so you're an informant, right? You get $100,000 per assignment.
I'm not an informant.
No. Okay, to clarify,
but
he is
every
not-
informant would
yes,
say that they're
yes.
not an informant.
Wouldn't you be up drumming business? I mean, that's like fucking a pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, you want to be an informant with me? You get $100,000.
Hey, that's way more than I was getting for being an actual terrorist.
Yeah, exactly. I just get half for signing you up, and then you see some poor kid and be like, hey, that guy looks like he, a nerd and doesn't have much life in his life. Why don't we get him going?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
So this is a retired FBI special agent. His name is, let's see, what is his name? Ahern.
Yeah, he was the Weather Underground guy, right?
Peter Ahern. I'm not sure. He's a retired FBI special agent. He was on the New York Joint Terrorism Task Force. And this quote here says everything that we're saying. If you're doing a sting right, you're offering the target multiple chances to back out.
Yeah. And that's not what's happening here.
No, like the case of this kid,
Yeah.
like you were saying, it came down to, like, he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like, you're going to fucking do it. Pussy.
Yeah.
Pussy.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, fine. FBI. Shit.
Yeah.
And it was probably Kareem on the other end. He's like, FBI. He's like, Kareem? Is that you? But actually, it's Agent Tom Jones. It's just like, I knew you weren't Muslim.
You were eating that hot dog.
What was the movie where? I think it was on one of the Jackass movies where they were playing like pretending to be terrorists and they glued the fake beard on it. It ended up being the other guy's pubes that he glued to his face. That was this guy. It says few of the more than 150 defendants indicted and convicted since 9/11 have had connection to any terrorist, evidence shows. And those that did have connections with terrorists, however, lacked the capacity to launch attacks on their own. An FBI informant not only led one of every 3 terrorist plots, but also provided all the necessary weapons, money, and transportation. One of 3 terrorist plots that they thwarted, they provided everything for.
It's a joke.
And this is how they're maintaining their funding.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the informants are making bank. So why wouldn't they go out and wrangle up some dumb kid?
Or come up with some concocted story,
Right.
and then they have to push this kid a little further. It's like, I can get my $100,000, asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. You better push that button.
Yeah.
Mama needs to get paid.
So this is the last part on this article I want to read. It says the FBI's logic to support the use of terrorism stings goes something like this. By catching a lone wolf before he strikes, federal law enforcement can take him off the streets before he meets a real terrorist who can provide him with weapons and munitions. However, to this day, no example exists of a lone wolf by himself unable to launch an attack becoming operational through meeting an actual terrorist in the United States.
Yeah.
So this has never happened. The thing that they're trying to keep him from doing, so basically their theory is they're going by the playbook of like drug stings. It's like some dude wants to buy drugs. And I mean, either way, he's going to get drugs from somebody. Right. And he shows up to this like hotel room, like shady hotel room. And this guy has a briefcase with the drugs in it. And he opens the briefcase and there's no drugs. It's just a note that says, haha, gotcha, FBI.
Right.
And they arrest him. Yeah. And their theory is, well, if he didn't buy fake drugs from us, he would have bought them from somewhere else.
Right.
Well, the problem is the resources needed to pull something off isn't the same as some petty drug
Buying
dealer.
a dime bag from a hotel room.
Right. You like this says, there's no example that exists of somebody that has no resources whatsoever actually connecting with an Al-Qaeda op, like a legit Al-Qaeda op, through his own connections, not FBI informant connections.
Yeah.
So no lone wolf has ever, without any resources of their own, made these terrorist connections and pulled off a plot like this.
Right.
So the stings that they're supposedly thwarting have never actually happened. It's just a theory that they're going off of.
Right.
And it again, it's just for me a way to continue this like money pit towards the FBI.
The money pit, but also, like you said, justify their existence and make it seem like there's some real threat out there that people need to be cautious of.
Yeah, it talks about a couple of lone wolves, like 3 specific lone wolf, like Al-Qaeda ops that actually pulled off or tried to pull off events on their own as their examples. But it says all 3 of these were dangerous lone wolves, but they already had their own resources and like overseas connections and stuff. None of them fit the profile of these sting operations, these dumbasses that they're going to turn into informants and stuff. So there's no basis to make all these claims on. It says, on down, it says, the problem with the cases we're talking about is that defendants would not have done anything if not kicked in the ass by government agents.
Right.
They're creating crimes to solve crimes so they can claim a victory in the war on terror.
Yeah.
It's just like the war on drugs, the war on poverty.
Absolutely.
It's like you create poverty, you can fix poverty. You peddle drugs around, you can fix the war on drugs, I guess. I don't know. Every war on whatever
they
fails.
lose. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back kind of to what they were talking about, like lone wolves, it kind of, it makes my brain cells flare up in other cases, like the Vegas shooting was a classic example
that
of
one was on my mind.
a lone wolf situation. It's like, this guy supposedly had no real international ties. He had no...
Well, wasn't his girlfriend?
Well, yeah. His girlfriend, but she's off the hook now.
Right.
She was from Thailand or Philippines or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't remember. But this whole theory of, oh, this guy's just a lone nut that acquired all this ammo and guns on his own, it makes me ask the same question that we've asked for so many years. Is this a sting op that went bad? Was this one of these instances where the government's like, this guy's a little crazy?
Yeah.
Let's set this whole thing up and bust in and kick down the door and win this thing, and we have this big win. We get all these, or maybe like I think we've talked about like a potential gun sale gone bad or something, where they were trying to set up a sting op for a gun sale, and then somebody in that got wind of it. It's just like, fuck it, we're gonna shoot everybody up. You know, you just don't know when there's so many classic examples of sting ops gone bad. It's just like, how do you say it's crazy to think that the Vegas shooting, which has so many fucking questions, couldn't have been a sting op gone bad?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. You know, or at least somebody who they thought they had on the hook.
Right.
That, you know, like possibly McVeigh, you know, saw through something or decided to change plans at the last moment.
Yeah. Well, here's another example that I never even considered. I've never really put a lot of thought in, but the New York Post posed this question in this article titled, because this was talking about the Whitmer thing too. It was titled, Bizarre Arrest of FBI Agent Spotlights Accusations of Bureau Corruption. So one of the FBI agents involved in this Whitmer thing, he's the one that got arrested for like bashing his girlfriend's head on the corner of
I saw that.
And some other things.
There was a couple of different FBI agents that got implicated in some dumb stuff.
Yeah. So, but this article is talking about, are we really surprised about FBI corruptions? And this one, they just gloss over this paragraph here with no explanation. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Because it says, questions still linger about the FBI's relationship with Tamerlan Tsarnaev.
I read that, yes.
And his brother Zokhar, who carried out the deadly bombing of the Boston Marathon. The Tsarnaevs didn't make the bombs. And cops in Boston told Newsweek in 2018 that they believe the FBI is protecting whoever did.
Yeah.
So we got these guys with these radical ideologies. They didn't make these fucking bombs. So who made the bombs?
Right.
And police, not just some crazy like tinfoil hat podcaster is saying the FBI is hiding something. Police in Boston are like, the FBI is covering something up here.
Right.
And so all these like little, again, this is just like one paragraph.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything about it.
Right.
It's one
Just
fucking
leaves
paragraph.
it alone. Yep.
It's just like, hey, you remember the Boston bombing? They didn't make those bombs. Who did? And that's the end. It's just like, whoa,
Please think FBI.
elaborate on this.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
So have you put any thought into that one? I mean, that was there's enough conspiracy theories around that one.
Yeah.
Like fake blood and things like that. But
total false. Yeah.
Total false flag.
Yeah. No, but I do think that they are a couple of dumb kids that got roped in by the FBI.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're Middle Eastern descent of some sorts. They have some kind of radical ideologies, but again, they didn't have these resources or knowledge of how to make a pressure cooker bomb that would blow up and burst people's legs off and shit.
Yeah.
So somebody gave it to them, whether or not it was the FBI or somebody else that the FBI has stopped looking for.
Right. That they're aware of, and they're just like, we need him for some other stuff. So,
So then that leads us back to the big one, which is the worst day in America's history of, January 6th.
Yeah, right.
We got to talk about January 6th because, I mean, you are a crazy nut job conspiracy theorist if you think by any chance that the FBI was somehow involved in January 6th, whether it be the Ray Epps story, whether it be, I don't know, like instigators or some sort, but
it's like January 6th stuff.
Hang on.
Like, so
what the fuck?
What is that?
This is a journalist from New York Times. I'm going to try to find the thing that he said. I had it found and then it disappeared. I'm not going to be able to find it, I don't think. But he basically, because it's a long video, but this is a guy, it's an undercover recording of this guy from New York Times, our favorite truth-telling site. But they basically said, this guy was basically saying things have been blown out of proportion. He's like, the New York Times, not Fox News, he specifically says, not Fox News or Newsmax or things like, we are the ones that broke the story that there were dozens of FBI informants at January 6th. Lots of them, all kinds of them. And so he comes out and says this, and, I mean, nobody reports on this because, I mean, you're crazy to consider the fact that that this could have been an inside job. Not even necessarily an inside job, but inside instigated. So this is the Ray Epps guy, if you don't remember. Let's watch this guy real quick. Let me get this one pulled up.
We need to go in to the Capitol. Let's go! I'm going to put it out there. I'm probably going to go to jail for it, okay? Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. Peacefully. Peacefully.
Even at the time of this instance, even at the time when he's like, guys, we got to go into the Capitol, he's trying to rile them all up.
And people are like,
and they're like, no. No, like you'd think they'd be like, we got to go to the Capitol. Like, yeah. No, they're like, got to go to the Capitol. Like, fuck no.
Yeah.
And then that one guy was sitting there going, Fed, like calling him out. Like, normally when you have a guy that's like, God, like you got all these guys that are like, again, over a couple beers.
They got the mob mentality going on, right?
Yeah, you're over a couple beers, like we were talking about in the beginning, and they're just like, man, I fucking hate Governor Whitmer.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, yeah, man, I wish he'd rot in hell. And then you got this guy that's like, guys, we should go in and fucking kill her. And it's like, you're a Fed. It's like, what?
Right, yeah.
So let's watch a little more of this guy.
Okay, folks. Number one, as soon as the president's done speaking, we go to the Capitol. The Capitol's this direction.
Now, in a lot of ways, shut up, Tucker. I'm stealing your shit. Yeah, he's like, not only is he like, we're going to go to the Capitol. As soon as he's done speaking, we're going to go. Oh, by the way, it's over here. If you didn't know, the Capitol's that way.
If you
everybody,
all
let's
follow
go.
me in a orderly line.
So it's easy to be like, no, that's not a Fed. It was just a fucking nut job that was trying to get them all riled all up, as they're saying Trump was. But what's the sentiment that the media has had towards all of these people?
Oh yeah, that they're terrorists. They're criminals. They all need to be locked up.
Do you want to see what the New York Times says about this guy? This guy is clearly one of the instigators of all this shit. He's not one of the ones that just happens to be walking through the freaking gates and stuff that the police opened up for him. He's clearly trying to get people to follow through with this, to actually push through with this.
Yeah.
New York Times came out with this article. A Trump backer's downfall as a target of January 6th conspiracy theory. So basically says he's a victim.
Yeah.
They're calling this guy a fucking victim of conspiracy theories. Who fucking cares if he's not a Fed, if he's just an instigator, which is the
Why
worst.
are they defending him?
The worst attack on all of freaking the United States since Pearl Harbor or 9/11 combined.
Civil War or whatever.
This guy, he's a victim of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, right?
It says, Ray Epps became the unwitting face of an attempt by pro-Trump forces to promote the baseless idea that why are they defending this guy if it's as bad as it was and he's not a fucking
and
Fed?
if it's baseless, why are they mentioning it?
Right. Number two, why is this guy not getting fucking charged?
Right.
When there's so much evidence out there that this guy, and he's come out, he's just like, I'm just like a baker from Arizona, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. But he's not being charged with all the rest of these people that are getting 20 years or some shit like that. He's not getting any of it, and he is clearly there. He's clearly instigating, and he's calling for this shit that actually went down. So I found that very interesting, and to say that it's crazy conspiracy theory to even think that possibly the FBI would have had informants on the ground there, which you saw that New York Times guy that said there's dozens on the ground at the time. But that's all baseless conspiracy theory now based on the New York Times. It's like when you look at all these other stories, fuck yeah, I could see that the FBI had pushed them to this and knew about it the whole time, and possibly rolled in the black vans with the more provocateur type people to get everybody all up in arms.
Who was the head FBI guy that came out and basically was like, "It's my mission in life to take down Trump"?
I don't remember, but yeah.
I mean,
clearly the FBI has been completely politically biased since Trump took office. I mean, it was the one Peter Daszak, wasn't it? That was like, no matter what, we can't let this guy be we can't let him win. We will do whatever it takes to not let him win. And that was FBI. And it's just like, but then we have to go back to this thought that the FBI could never pull something like this off when they're so fucking clearly biased against it. What are you looking up?
Looking to see what that quote was.
So I'll keep talking about, because back to that New York Post article that talked about the Boston bombing, they also said there was this guy, let's see, this guy named Mark Sami Ibrahim. He was arrested during the January 6th riots. Do you know why?
Right.
He was arrested for allegedly trespassing at the Capitol with a gun. He allegedly, he claims to investigators that he was at the Capitol to help a friend who was documenting the event for, guess who? The FBI. Like, he was supposedly there working on a documentary of the event, or documenting it, reporting on it for the FBI. And then they arrest him and say, you're trespassing on Capitol grounds. It's just like there's so much shady shit that the FBI turns around and puts on other people. And it's just like, what the hell is actually going on? It's just like so much, just like this whole January 6th thing just reeks of Fed provocation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's goes towards their MO of not only making it look like there's these right-wing extremists, but also making Trump look like the bad guy.
Well, even if they didn't instigate it, they knew.
Yeah.
They had infiltrators in these groups. We know that there was infiltrators in like the Three Percenters and the Boog Boys and the Patriot movements, all of them. It's just known that they have, they know that they have feds.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the high-ranking individuals in these militant, I guess you could call them, movements were feds.
Yeah.
So to say that, well, they would have had nothing to do with it. But you could have you could have stopped it. You could have been like, guys, don't. No,
well,
that's a bad idea.
I mean, that guy could have been like, hey, guys, we shouldn't go that way. We should.
How about we go over here?
Yeah, well, why don't we just go grab a pizza?
Yeah, I got a case of beers over here.
Yeah.
We can all
we can just sit around and shoot the shit, talk about what we wish we could do, but don't have the money or finances to do.
Right. So, again, looking at all these examples, how much good is the FBI actually capable of? How much are they actually doing?
Yeah. To me, they're focused on the wrong stuff. I mean, they're so concerned about these right-wing extremists and stuff that they're missing out on these kids who have been on their radar that are shooting up schools or shooting up workplaces.
Are they missing them though? That's the real question.
And that's the thing that I guess selectively enforcing.
Well, you can't even those are the types of topics like we talked on our conspiracy theory episode 2 weeks ago. That Sandy Hook or things like that. Those are the topics you can't really question because it involves dead children and it's an emotionally charging thing.
Well, no, I know that, but after these shootings, when the FBI comes out and be like, "Oh yeah, we were watching him; he was on our radar."
You can't ask the same questions that you can ask for something big like this. But you should be able to, because I would like to see, you can find all kinds of articles on how the feds fucked up Oklahoma City, the feds fucked up, name it, Ruby Ridge, the feds fucked up Waco, the Fed, but there's very little out there on these school shootings that you can find. I mean, you can find plenty that's like, oh, he was on the Fed's radar. What's this about? But it goes no further than that because nobody wants to reopen that wound and pull the families through some shit.
Right.
Or
so they just let it go.
Nobody wants a $45 million lawsuit like Alex Jones got tagged with. So, but those are kind of, I wouldn't call them small things, but it's at the individual level that they're I don't know. It's there's so many of them.
It doesn't forward the narrative at all by doing that. So, but January 6th, that forwards the narrative because again, since the 90s and then it died down for a little bit, but definitely in the last 10 years, they've been pushing this right-wing extremist.
I mean, the school shootings do push the need
gun
for more
narrative.
gun control. Yeah. So, and so many of them have been on the FBI radar. That FedEx guy shooter was on the FBI radar.
The train yard or the port guy.
I think we did a whole episode about that. Of how many of
and
these guys
two
were
dumb kids, and they didn't know anything the first interview. And the second interview, he definitely had an AR-15.
Yeah, there's so many instances.
Yeah,
and it's not just FBI incompetency because they had operatives for this specific thing to infiltrate these groups or to follow these people around and push them into doing bigger things and then catching them in the act before the big foil the plot type thing.
I mean, with the exception of what we've been talking about tonight, I mean, does the FBI even serve a purpose anymore?
No, that's why they have to create their own terrorism to keep funding themselves. That's the whole point. It's they don't even do drug cases anymore because they're chasing around terrorists. They push
and nobody
they gave
robs
that
banks
back
anymore
to the DEA.
unless it's them trying to fund their own shit.
Yeah, the only bank robbers out there are FBI informants that are trying to fund terrorism that was perpetrated or at least planned by the FBI.
Right.
And they're probably not even robbing banks. The FBI probably just has a slush fund that they throw at it.
They just take the money and give it to them.
Yeah, you've watched Blacklist enough to know that they're just hey, I'm going to need $4 million. For what? Well, I got to pay off this this criminal guy,
Right.
so he'll give me some information. It's just like, yeah, you know that shit's going on all the
yeah.
time. They don't have to rob banks. It's just like, all right, here's a check for four. The taxpayers won't miss it.
Right. Well, we'll put it in bags so it makes it look like you robbed the bank, and then we'll put an ad.
We'll put a black mask on you.
Yeah.
And you can run out saying,
Just put these pantyhose on.
You'll never get me, coppers.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. So you think it's incompetency, or you think it's actual? Do you think they want to build up this?
I feel like.
Do you think? Like, I think it's safe to say that we know that they want to at least push them to the line where they can catch them in the act, and then, oops, we accidentally missed. Do you think it goes as far as they want a few of them to slip through the cracks, or they allow
probably.
it so these things can actually happen?
Well, like the one that you talked about, where they changed the head, and so they gave the guy the wrong powder.
Or no, they just moved him to a different
they moved
assignment.
him, yeah,
so nobody
right.
brought the fake powder.
Right.
So,
And so I think it's one of those things where they're like, oh, shit, well, we'll just see what happens, and we'll make the best of it. I mean, I just don't think they care.
What do you think the terrorists, when he didn't show up with the fake powder that he was supposed to be provided, he just doesn't show up, they're just like, well, I know another guy. I know I know Ahmed over there,
Yeah.
he's got a bunch of powder.
If we hurry, we can catch him.
Yes.
No,
and then the FBI's like, shit, we missed that one. And it's always cover-ups.
Oh, yeah.
It's always, whether it was their
but that's
stupidity or intentionality, they're going to cover it up and be like, oh, this guy, I mean.
And that's the dangerous thing about this game that the FBI is playing, is that it there's so many working parts, right? The right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, right? And
or even scarier would be if they did know what they were doing.
Well, that is, but I guarantee you that a lot of times they don't, right? The Illinois branch has been following this guy, and then he goes over to Oklahoma, not knowing the Oklahoma branch is watching this thing, and so then there's some clash there, and they're like,
that's our jurisdiction.
Yeah, right. You know that shit happens,
yeah.
Right? I mean, no, we want this collar, and so that coupled with incompetence, because I just think that
incompetence mixed with
they're paper
intentionality
pushers.
is really dangerous.
Exactly, and I think that is what is happening and has been happening for the last 50 years with the FBI.
It's just a combination of both of them.
Yeah, yes.
It's gross, and we haven't even got into like the FBI back in J. Edgar Hoover days, infiltrating like the Black Panthers,
right.
Following freaking what's his name? John Lennon, all over the place, thinking he was an extremist.
Right.
Just all there. Yeah. We haven't even touched that. We're specific. Again, we're focusing on.
Oh yeah,
90s
fucking J.
till
Edgar
now.
Hoover. Everybody knew. I mean, he was listening to everybody.
But apparently, they have 10 times the informant, like probably more than 10 times the informants today than J.
Which is
Edgar
even
Hoover
scarier.
Ever had.
Yeah.
Ever possessed. I had a couple other articles, but maybe I'll post the links. I don't got time to get into them. But there was just a lot of information on this that, I mean, like this one's titled, "The FBI created terror groups so that they had terrorists to catch." This talking exactly what we're talking about. It just goes into examples of, there was this other operative called COINTELPRO that we haven't even touched. It went from 56 to 71, so it went a lot longer than the PATCON did. But it says, use tactics such as targeting individuals through psyops or psychological warfare, smearing individuals and or groups using forged documents, planting false reports in media, harassment, wrongful imprisonment, and illegal violence, including assassinations. The FBI stated motivation was protecting national security, preventing violence, and maintaining the existence of social and political order. Through assassinations?
Yeah.
Through false imprisonment? So this one talks about this guy that he was an FBI informant, or he was on the FBI payroll, but they pretty much funded him to put out these like terrorist books, like this terrorist literature, like anti-American literature and this like satanic literature and stuff. And it was basically financing, it says financially supporting cults and encouraging terrorism where it didn't necessarily exist.
Wow.
And it talks about producing literature endorsing terrorism and ritual murder. So the FBI was funding this guy. They basically, like, his publishing house that he published his books through was funded directly by the FBI. And this is just stuff that they did. Said Sutter, the informant or whatever, was influencing a group of troubled young men, including brainwashing, psychedelic drugs, and threats.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, all funded by the FBI. Right. So these are resources that we didn't even have time to get to. But, I mean, it's not just PATCON that went on for 3 years. Right. It happened long before PATCON. Yeah. It's happening now long after PATCON. And I think the Whitmer trial is just further evidence that this is still going on. Yeah. And it's just, I mean, it's a fucking circus. This whole trial's a circus, and if they lock anybody up, it's just evidence of how big of a clown show it is.
Oh, absolutely.
And they get away with it. Yeah. If one of these people gets locked up, they get away with it.
Yeah. You know, looking at all this shit with the FBI, right, that's been going on, and, you know, from what we've talked about with, like, the NED, and, like, just this shit with the Fed, and when we look at all the shit that the different presidents have done for the last 100 years, I mean, the United States has created all its own problems.
Mostly.
I mean, if the United States, if the fucking government just stayed out of shit and did their own fucking shit, or we didn't have the government at all,
yes,
we would be sitting in a great place right now.
We would. Well, yeah, I mean, take what we're talking about,
the
FBI.
Say that on live air?
Yes. Take what we're talking about with the FBI and, like, producing terrorism, producing these threats so they could foil these threats. Instead of FBI or Homeland Terrorism or whatever, just put foreign war and fill in the blank, foreign war. How many of these did we, like, instigate and push and, like, put, like, CIA operatives in there to, like, get the public all, like, up in arms? And the NED, like you mentioned, that like sparked some of these wars, or pushing our shit up against the borders that we're not supposed to, based on treaties that we have signed, we're not supposed to have shit there in the first place. And then being like, oh, these big bad warmongers want to go to war with us. It's like, well, maybe they want it if you weren't peddling all this
the
bullshit.
Fucking shit we did, you know, to stop communism. You know, I mean.
And that's CIA and FBI combined. That's Homeland and foreign, like foreign wars, all in one.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you talk about Cuba, Vietnam, Korea.
Yeah.
All the wars from the 50s to the 80s.
Yeah.
And then also, like, the blacklist with, back here, you talk, who was the big, the Senator McCarthy, was that his name?
Yep.
That was the Red Scare guy. Yeah. All that shit.
Yeah.
I mean... That's all of what we're talking about combined,
right?
To fight the communist scourge.
The shit that Johnson did, you know, war on poverty, the war on drugs that Nixon did, the getting us into World War II with Roosevelt, getting us into World War I with Wilson, and getting us into the United Nations. Roosevelt, the other Roosevelt, you know, expanding our naval bases across the Pacific. I mean, it's just like.
We provoke 98% of the shit
Absolutely
that
we do.
Get into, yes. Then back to, like, the FBI fuck-ups, whether intentional or stupidity. You've got the Operation Fast and Furious. We just armed militant cartel.
Yeah.
And then that got sold somehow to ISIS. So we found our own weapons in, like Iraq and Afghanistan that we had sold to... And we're trying to trace these cartel members down and take them down. And I mean, that was a big freaking embarrassment.
Well, and Benghazi, they think was an arms deal gone bad.
Who knows?
You know,
like when you look at these things, you got to look at every other incident that makes you scratch your head and be like, yeah, how much of this was like a sting op gone bad, or I don't know, intentionally funding these people to... Like the Iran-Contra affair. I mean, we were intentionally selling drugs to fund the Iranians with that money, like illegally transporting drugs to other countries to fund wars that we weren't supposed to have anything to do with. And it's like all these instances, when you look at the wide open examples, you got to look at everything else and be like,
absolutely.
And when people are just like, "Oh, you're just fucking conspiracy theorists," it's like, but are we? Because there's so many, there's so much evidence to back us up.
It's like the meme with the whiteboard in the back, and the guy's like,
yes, there's so many.
It's like, look at it all and tell me there isn't something there,
right?
Even by accident, there's shit there, right?
But yeah, I mean, you'll probably get put on a list for even talking about.
We're
this shit.
already on a fucking list.
Yes. So, final opinions of the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
You know, when I was a kid, I thought I wanted to be an FBI agent.
Do you want to be a private eye?
Yes. But no, I just was like, oh, yeah, I want to be a cop and I want to be an FBI agent because that would be cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking at it now, it's like they start their own shit to keep themselves relevant.
I'm sure there's plenty of agents out there that think they are at the small time level on the outside.
I'm sure.
That are there thinking they're protecting and serving.
I think they follow the example of the administration. Right? And the last couple administrations. Okay. All right. The last several administrations have been about making sure that there's not homegrown factions growing up against the government.
Look at the NSA.
Yeah.
All the shit that came out with Edward Snowden.
Right.
Look at the FBI. Look at the CIA. Look at any alphabet agency. Yeah. It's been all focused. Look at the IRS now. It's going to be... They're going to be digging in our shit. I mean, they passed that bill last year that they could dig in your shit if you had any transaction over $500. And then this year, they just ramp up federal agents by like 80,000.
Right. Well, and I mean, everything was solid with the homegrown terrorists until all of a sudden it was the extreme Muslims, that came in, and that was an issue. We were in war for 20-some years.
But now you can't talk bad about Muslims because that's
right.
racist.
So, but you can always talk bad about white people.
Oh yeah.
But then Obama comes in, you got the Tea Parties, and then you're back on the extremist train.
Just wait. Now that the IRS is ramping up.
Oh, I know.
Because the FBI's had a lot of
bad
black
press.
Eyes here lately. So the IRS is ramping up.
Yeah. The IRS is the new FBI.
Adding tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of agents, whatever.
Right.
Just wait till you start hearing about, somebody called me up and was like, do you know how to save a couple dollars on your taxes? Is just route this around here. And that turned into the sting operation. And then all of a sudden the IRS knocked on his door, and that dude in the wheelchair in those videos is holding a gun pointed at you and saying, IRS, you're under arrest.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. You're going to go to H&R Block and it's going to be undercover FBI. He's like, I think I can save you $20.
Yes, exactly. Sting operations coming from the IRS.
Matter of fact, we have a group where we get together and talk about loopholes.
Yes. You should join us.
If you're interested.
We got this group of accountants that we meet up every Saturday, and we talk numbers. We talk about cooking the books. Do you like to cook books? Because we like to cook books.
Whereas the FBI is lawyers with guns, now the IRS is accountants with guns.
Yes,
so
exactly.
we're moving up in the world.
Exactly. That's what we got. That's all the time we got for this. We're gonna end on that note. A happy note.
Accountants with guns.
Accountants with guns. Yes. Tell us what you think. The comment section's always open. This PATCON shit, it kind of is a direct look into what's been going on, and all this stuff coming out with the FBI this year. This really, again, we said it for the last couple weeks. It kind of parallels with what went down in the 90s with all these big anti-militia stings and ops and foiled plots and stuff. We got the same thing going on now. So when's the next Oklahoma City bombing coming?
Right.
I guess that's the big question.
I mean, between last week and then yesterday and then today, it seems like everything's leading up to something big.
Yes, exactly.
And that's really scary.
Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you have any other resources on this shit, send it our way. We like to read. We like to think we can read, but we enjoy looking at. Make sure you add pictures.
Yeah.
Make sure you add pictures. Share this stuff all over social media, because that's how we get our name out there. That's how we can spread this out. We like to expose the bullshit for bullshit, what it is.
And there's a lot of it.
And there's plenty of it. We've been doing this over 2 years now, and there's plenty of bullshit to expose. So Check us out all over social media. Like, share. Go to the YouTube page once again and like and subscribe to that because we're trying to build that back up to our pre-axe levels, our pre-nuked levels. So go do that. Even if you don't really follow YouTube too much, go do that just to help us out. Check us out all over. Check out our store. You can support us also on Patreon, patreon.com/breakthebell. You'll get access to bonus content, merchandise, other options out there. We even have a book club that nobody has signed up for that we are dying to get into. I almost forgot about our book club.
I forgot about our book club.
We have a book club level where if you sign up at that level, we will send you the book. We'll read through the book, and you can come on our show and talk through the book with us.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fucking awesome.
That would be awesome.
So, patreon.com/breakthebell. Tomorrow morning, don't miss the Two Scoops morning show, 20, 30-minute bullshit session with Dan Smotz of The System Is Down podcast. That's going to be on his channel, his YouTube channel tomorrow morning, so don't miss that. It's a fun time. It's a good thing to wake up to. Otherwise, have a great rest of your week. Be back here for the weekend wrap-up this weekend where we inevitably wrap up the week. Otherwise, we'll be back same time next week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday night. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.
The Break the Bell podcast is brought to you by you. So pat yourself on the back because without you, we would be talking to ourselves. A special thanks to our Patreon members, Justin Zielinski, Remzo Martinez, Stephanie Parker, and T.O. Jacobson. A shout out to our sponsors, Run Your Mouth Coffee, the On the Run podcast, and Goulash Media. If you'd like to help support us, visit patreon.com/breakthebell or buy our garbage at breakthebell.bigcartel.com. Get back here next week and let us continue to invade your ear holes. And as always, never stop talking.